Hi, intrepid viewers. Thanks for popping in. Here you are on Tarot Down Under. Let's go. First, a bit of news. I think Illinois is now the first state to ban the banning of books by their public libraries. So, in other words, they're protecting the public libraries from these ridiculous fascist demands to get rid of books. Okay, so go Illinois. Now, apparently Trump's lawyers, how many lawyers has this man gone through, So what's left of the lawyers have been court ordered to get security clearances. Well, I would have thought it's a bit late for that, considering how many people have handled these documents, but still. So I wonder if they will actually pass and get their security clearances. Who knows? But I'm not actually going to read on that. So we've got other things happening. In the meantime, the Energy Department got 2 ransom demands just this last week or so. Now, they were traced back to a Russian group, and I'd like to know what was in those demands. Will there be more? How was it handled? Those sort of things. So fully fledged ransom demands, Energy Department. Let's have a look at that. So what that meant, of course, is they were able to breach all the stuff, all the firewalls. They got in. Energy. All right, I think this was quite amateurish. Judging by this, look, here we go. We have the Page of Wands bringing a message. Oh, there's a message in your inbox. Oh, this is a ransom demand, So I think it was done on, they had the technical expertise to get in, but the actual demands weren't couched in a way that would freak out the Energy Department. They wouldn't be happy about these breaches. And there are a lot of those breaches. Okay. So this is more a word of warning for them. They will try again. And why wouldn't they? This is the Star card, which often in my particular spreads, this card's more about America at its best. And we've been moving further and further away from the Star card for quite some time. It's coming up very seldom these days. But this is, I think, if you're looking at it from the American perspective, this was a successful shutdown of these ransom attempts. But I think there'll be more, and they might not be so lucky next time. And I digress, viewers. What's happening, along with the lack of care of infrastructure, we know how hard Biden's worked to try and get that infrastructure bill through. Not only are the trains and the bridges and the roads in a state of total collapse, I think it's the behind-the-scenes technology. The hackers are so far ahead of governments now. And you probably find, if you scratch the surface, the Energy Department in the US is using really basic stuff that has become obsolete in other areas. It's just how it goes. Okay, so now I want to have a look here at Blinken in China. I started to have a look yesterday and got distracted because there's been 2 bites at the cherry. First of all, Blinken spoke to Qin, who's high up, and their talks went for 5 hours, so that says something. Maybe the translations were slow and there wasn't much substance, but they talked for 5 hours. And your Monday, he's talking with Wang Yi, who is the top government official for foreign relations. So let's see how that went. Just bear in mind, Bill Gates went last week, swanned in and spoke to Xi himself. You know, this is why corporations and the wealthy are more influential than countries. You know. So let's have a look how Blinken is going in the Chinese context. Okay, now let's have a look here. Oh, God. Oh, I have to make this a bit more substantial than I thought. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Well, you know, let me share this with you. I don't think the talks are going really well. You know, I wouldn't put this in the category of diplomatic coup, you'd have to say. I mean, I don't know how prepared Blinken was. I don't know how antsy the Chinese were in relation to this, but it's not a good start, is it? Really, no. Okay, so the conversation seemed to be going forward with the chariot, and then it became very confused and delusional. I'm not blaming Blinken for this. It's notoriously difficult to conduct these talks, and he would have been dependent on his advisors and so forth. So he started off okay, but then it entered this territory of really smoke and mirrors. You know, like it's almost like neither side knew what the other was talking about. So they will bring out the platitudes, you know, we have a history of improving relations, so we'll go on improving using the active verb because they're actually not improving, but let's pretend they are. So that there's been a bit of that going on. And then there was a bit of argy-bargy and a threat. This would most likely, I think, be China saying, keep out of our business, particularly about Taiwan. I think, and I could well be wrong here, but I think Blinken could be feeling disappointed that he didn't make more headway. Again, I'm not blaming the man, it's the situation. So I don't think these talks are going to make a blind bit of difference, I have to say. I don't think so. So China is under tremendous pressure because they've been experimenting with rampant capitalism, despite being a communist state notionally. And now this is the problem with peak capitalism. It leads to a few decades of massive growth where everyone's lives tend to be lifted up and improved, and it's hailed as this model, when in fact there comes a point where tower again comes crashing down, which is what we're all living with in our countries with peak capitalism. So workers are being paid worse than they were 40 years ago. Conditions are worse. Things are running downhill. So we have to look structurally at how much of that is the corporations have been allowed to run rampant and run out of control. You know, they can pay people what they want. They're not answerable to anyone. There's no labor conditions. So let's just jump in here. Are people waking up to this? Oh, God, it's my dear old socialist heart beating here. Are people waking up or not? Who is shafting them? Hello? Who is shafting them? And it's not the immigrant workers picking beans. There's a clue. Are people waking up to the abuse by corporations, abuse of their own wealth and power? Are they waking up? bit nervous. In fact, I might be very nervous about this one. Are they waking up? The Emperor, they're still looking to the Emperor for the solutions. Wheel of Fortune, oh, okay. Queen of Pentacles, oh, that's cute. Now, we know with tarot, it's hopeless for timelines. And things that we as readers predicted 3 and 4 years ago are coming to pass, but there's often these huge delays. So I don't think this is next week, but it is a more open-ended question of the US, but I'm speaking as an Australian too. The UK, Canada, everywhere else has gone down the same route. It's just the American version is on steroids, you know. Okay, the Emperor. I think this isn't even a single leader. I don't think this, in this context, is Biden or Trump or anyone else. It just symbolically the leader. People still look to the leader to solve their problems. And they're at the mercy of messaging. You know, we're in a post-truth world, and depending what you listen to, you know, and that can be very fluid, hence all the water. But where I got a bit more optimistic, Wheel of Fortune is turning at some point soon-ish. I would put this in the next year or two, not a minute too soon if you ask me. Women and decent men who support decent women are going to start realizing if they're looking after their own money in this way, where does it come from? What is it spent on? And I think you'll find most people will get to a point where they'll see the disconnect between what governments spend on, say, defense, but where, you know, to the outside world, but where is their defense against poverty? Where is their defense against violence? Where is their defense about insane gun laws? If you want to keep people safe, you don't have to spend another $26 billion. You know, I think this will bring it a bit more down home, so I'm a bit optimistic. And this could be a revelation. Looking at other countries and how they're doing it. What are some countries doing right? And what are most countries doing wrong? And one of the things I've said often on this channel is it's very hard for Americans to look out and look up because of the national narrative. We're born in the greatest country in the world, and therefore we don't have to look at how other people do healthcare or education. But I think there's coming a time, this shift is important. So there will be a bit more comparison than has gone on before. I'm pleased to report that. And I think it's hugely significant. And many Americans, and I talk to a lot of Americans, as you know, will say to me, oh, I'm embarrassed by what's happening in America with these terrible Lauren Boeberts and Marjorie Taylor Greens and things. You shouldn't be embarrassed. It's not your fault they've been allowed to filter to the surface. But there is a collective responsibility to lift the bar and provide other options to these people. And that's my criticism of the Dems at the moment. They have such talent in the second tier with the Jamie Raskins and the Swalwells and Whitehead and AOC and Katie Porter. So much talent. I think that's quite optimistic. Now, speaking of Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Empty Green as I've been calling her, she's on this stupid committee with Andy Biggs looking for the dirt on Biden. You know, they're going to bring Biden down with all his corruption. Well, of course, now they can't find anything. They can't find the tapes. They can't find the notes. They can't find anything about anything. I mean, they're just con artists. It's shocking. Just con artists. Okay, let's move on. Now, GOP candidates are being asked to make a pledge to the party before they step up as primary candidates. Pledge. It's not the Boy Scouts and the Girl Guides. I understand a Pledge of Allegiance when you actually enter the House as a serving member. But for the primaries, we'll have a look at that, because I think most people would have their fingers down their throat at the thought of this, including Chris Christie, who's singularly unimpressed. Trump, who they had to fine to get him to sign something like this last time because he didn't know he had to. So let's have a look what's going on with this stupid loyalty pledge. And then we're going to Jack Smith. Loyalty pledge. Oh, sorry. Oh, look, it's really just rubbish. Okay. Values, holding on to the values, juggling the different. I think what they're trying to do is get people in behind Trump as the nominee. But what they're pretending to do is make it a level playing field. Everyone pledges allegiance to everyone else, but it's not a level playing field. It's an uneven boat. The Yeti, aka Duck L'Orange, is just going to forge on like he always forges on. And fundamentally a foolish act. This isn't going to fly. Some will, some won't. People will pretend to. People will say mine's in late. It's high school level. High school. Okay. Now, Jack Smith has issued his first order as the lead prosecutor in the case. And it's an order banning Trump and his lawyers from talking about the discovery material. Now, I'm sure most of you watch the Midas Touch or Glenn Kirshner or one of the very good legal programs that have been on since the beginning of the nightmare. And so the discovery material includes witness statements. Now, what's interesting is the defense, the Yeti's team, didn't say no. They didn't defend it. They went with it. They've agreed. So what's that about? Let's have a look. What's that about? What's that about? And then we'll finish with AI in the next election. The lawyers can't talk about discovery material. Got this one again. Okay. I think this is Jack Smith and what's left of the DOJ representing the old school, how it used to be. There used to be a respect for the judicial processes, even though we all know there's been individually corrupt judges forever, there's been unjust rulings forever. But in the big picture, the DOJ performed a certain function as a major pillar of the American society. But now, because they're dealing with the Yeti here in the form of the fool, and this is him on holiday in Mar-a-Lago, like he really, really doesn't get it. He doesn't get any of these directions. So they're protecting themselves because the order apparently says Trump or his lawyers. Now, even a bad lawyer will realize they've got a terrible client here. So they've got to protect themselves as much as they can because he will not comply with that. I don't think he will comply. So then what do they do? Let's have a look at that. What happens if Trump does not comply and blurts over Truth Social these things he's not supposed to talk about? Let's have a quick look at the ad. Will there be any pushback on Trump if he doesn't comply? That's what we really want to know. Yeah. Will there be any pushback? Pushback on Trump. On Trump. Oh. All right, let's see. These are watery cards. Well, they better have a plan, because as we know, the Yeti is a blurter. It all just falls out of his face day and night. Biden's on top of this. I think that's suggesting the conventions of American DOJ proceedings. I don't think Biden's going to intercede in any way. So I think this represents that. But they're going to, this is going to keep happening. 3 of the cups are down, 2 are up. I think there's going to be possibly 3 breaches before they act. I think as we speak, they're even looking further afield. Are there precedents in law? What do we do? Because there's a couple of historic cases and so forth in history, but they're looking around for a solution that won't send the country into a major drama. You know, they are trying to seek out these solutions. And I think part of this is saying it up front, being crystal clear with the public as well. He is not to talk about these things. But I don't think they're strong enough straight off to issue a gag order or something like that. But they're going to have to make a plan. Now, let's have a quick look at the role of artificial intelligence in the 2024 elections. This is a question from a viewer. Let's have a look here. Viewer question, AI and 2024. Frankly, I haven't even wanted to explore this idea. I think, oh God, as if there isn't enough going on without the whole AI thing dropping into the middle of the election. AI, is it going to impact 2024? AI, what's happening here? And then I've got a killer quote for you from one of you guys. I love that. Okay. So AI. Oh my goodness. Look, I think this is people in AI land and possibly hackers or other who have other skills or whatever, getting together. The 3 of Pentacles is always about working together to do something. They are doing that. I think this represents the public, an offer that they don't want. So always with these new radical surveillance techniques and other things, usually they find a way to make it seem really important and good, and you really need it, you know. So we all use our phones, you know, things like Shazam that can pick up on a couple of bars of a song and tell you who it is and where you're listening. That was all surveillance technology from the military that we love because it makes our lives quicker and easier, but it comes at a price. So there's going to be something in the AI thing about the elections where they're saying to people, if you trust this system, it'll be so much better for you. But people are suspicious. Some people are even sad over it, you know, like there's a bit of sadness here. So some will go with this new form of technology and others won't. And I think it's a mixed bag. We have the Queen of Cups here. This used to be my Pelosi card, although she used to get the Queen of Pentacles too. I think this is a woman who actually, she's very good with words, and she actually explains in a way that people can understand what is being offered. People instinctively are reacting against it, but that's just reflex. She's able to tap in and explain to them why it's not such a good idea, because this is down the track if you go down this route exclusively. Like, we can't stem the tide. AI is already doing extraordinary things, and some will be marvelous, but a lot of it won't, you know. But a viewer said to me this week, I don't know if it was an original thought from her or she got it from somewhere else. So I'm speaking now with an American voice. The viewer said, "This is my country, not your church." And I think that should be a nationwide slogan when they keep coming up with this anti-drag stuff and all these poisonous attacks on books and everything else. This is my country, not your church. It's simple. It's effective. It says so much. And it makes people even question patriotism, because somehow only evangelical Christians can be patriots. Only, far-right nutcases armed to the back teeth can be patriots. Somehow the Dems have to claw that idea about the country away from those who want to destroy it. That is the goal. I'll leave you with that thought. Okay, bye for now. Ciao, ciao.